Chapter 101 Gaia's Primal Genesis. On the first floor, Cultivation Manual area, Arcana Library. While his wives and children were in the entertainment section, Maximus came here to choose a cultivation technique. In the Arcana Library, all knowledge ranges from Tier 0 to Tier 6 are free, no matter the identity. This allowed the widespread dissemination of knowledge across the entire domain. Of course, not all type of knowledge is free. Cultivation manuals, blueprints, and recipes have patents that you need to pay for. Otherwise, there would be no creativity, as people could simply copy what the predecessors did. Let's see. Maximus slowly walked alongside a wide selection of exercises that extended like infinity. The Arcana Library uses an advanced space folding array, making this gigantic building have a world of its own inside. As the books are only Tier 0, there are no special shielding runes that block spirit consciousness from accessing them. So, after a few hours of scanning all the cultivation manuals, he sat down. 1.8 billion Tier 0 Cultivation Manual, initial 0/180 billion. He could only sigh at the vast inheritance of the Arcana Library. Of course, not all these cultivation manuals lead directly to Tier 9. If he had enough life points, he could certainly study all of them to transcendent mastery and create his own cultivation manual. Fortunately, it's not possible for now. He then added some life points to get some insight into them immediately. 1 LP equals plus 100,000. After adding a life point, Maximus was dazzled by the added points. To confirm his hypothesis, he took out a book at random. Fire Body Cultivation Manual, Tier 0 Initial, 1/100. After 10 minutes of reading, Fire Body Cultivation Manual, Tier 0 Perfect, 150/400. This should be the effect of the building, Maximus murmured as he concluded. After trying a bunch more, he came to the conclusion that studying here would yield twice the result compared to normal. I don't know if the effect is better above, Maximus thought as he looked above. Maximus didn't bother any more and tapped on his system. 18,000 LP equals 1 billion. 1.8 billion Tier 0 Cultivation Manual, initial 18 billion/180 billion. A vast amount of knowledge about various cultivation manuals came to his mind. Using life points, he roughly knew what these cultivation manuals were about without wasting time. After all, if he read them one by one to choose, he didn't know when he would finish. Out of these more than 1 billion cultivation manuals, only about 1,000 could reach Tier 9 directly. Of course, those who created these were already at Tier 9, so following their path was useless. That's it, Maximus could only choose Tier 8 manuals. As for why Tier 9 manuals are even here if it's useless? It's for future reference for those who need to advance to Tier 9. Out of all of these, he took a fancy to Gaia's Primal Genesis. Gaia's Primal Genesis, incorporating all of the world's elements, nourishing the sapling of a world tree. At its peak, it can create its own world. Just seeing that it uses all the elements and is capable of creating its own world got him excited. This cultivation manual is for both soul and body, so it's only what he needed. Although it's an awesome technique, it has a severe shortcoming, that is time. To nourish the world tree sapling, you not only need all the elements, but you also need time. This is also why no one has succeeded so far after all, only Tier 9 life is infinite. It is written that the world tree sapling had gone through at least 3 people but all of them failed and died of old age. Not for me, Maximus smiled at the warning. For him, with life points, it's a piece of cake. However, the only problem now is to rack up credit points to exchange the world tree sapling. After getting a copy of Gaia's Primal Genesis, he went to the Athercore of the library. After all, the cultivation manuals are only Tier 0. If he wants the following tiers, he can either find them on each floor or go to the Athercore to get them all together. On the first floor, center of the library, Athercore. There were a lot of people like him who also wanted to get an entire copy of the book. After a few minutes of waiting in line, it was finally his turn. Please insert your token. Maximus took out his token and inserted it. Reading. Official student. Credits, 977,838. Insert the book name. Maximus typed the name of the cultivation manual. Gaia's Primal Genesis, whole book 100 million credits. Looking at the price, he sighed and filtered the selection. Gaia's Primal Genesis, Tier 0 Tier 6 500,000 credits. After clicking enter, the book in his hand suddenly vibrated and became bigger and thicker. I think you should take a look at. Meanwhile, on the shelf from which he got it, another identical copy of the Tier 0 book suddenly materialized. This should be made of void gold metal, Maximus muttered, looking at the shape-shifting book in his hands. In the entertainment area, Maximus' wives and kids were absorbed in their own world, reading some exciting books. That's right, monkey, you need to be like this, Max said as he educated his monkey beast pet. Chi-Chi the monkey jumped up and down as if agreeing. They were reading, or should I say watching, a story of a golden monkey who defied all odds and became a monkey god. Of course, it's a fantasy story, but having made it to the arcane library proved that it was an all-time best fantasy story in a generation. And here in the entertainment section of the library, there were almost infinite amounts of them. As for why keep it here and waste space in the library? Because these stories have unconstrained ideas, serving as inspiration for anyone. Author, I would like to spend my life here. As they were watching the story, a little girl came to disturb their peace. Hey, little brat! A little girl the size of Max yelled. What brat? Max was still in a daze as he looked at the little girl. I want that book, the little girl said calmly. No, Max didn't bother and continued to watch. Hey, I'm talking to you, the little girl repeated. What? Max looked at her again, annoyed. I want that book, she repeated. I said no. Do you have hearing difficulties? Max looked at her like a retard. Seeing Max look at her like this made the little girl change her face. She, the little princess of the Celestine family, the granddaughter of a Tier 9 Apex sovereign, was brutally rejected. What's even your name, anyway? Max, seeing the little girl, still didn't leave and looked at him like she was about to cry. He sighed and asked. I am Ella. The little girl held back her tears and said. Oh, then why don't we watch together? Max said. If he made this little girl cry, her brother Liam would beat him to pieces. After getting the book, Maximus hurriedly went to the entertainment area where his family was. Seeing that they were busy, he didn't bother to greet them as he opened the book. Gaia's Primal Genesis, Tier 0, Tier 6 Initial, 1/6 billion. First, he took a look at his points. Life points, 1,004,098. Potential points, 24,767,417. Seeing that he had enough points, he first upgraded his mana compatibility. Mana compatibility, Divine, 0/10 million. Plus 10 million potential points. Mana compatibility, Transcendent, 0/100 million. Suddenly, as if the shackles in his body were gone, he could feel the world more clearly, as if he was blind previously. Going from rank 6 to rank 7 was a leap from middle rank talent to upper rank talent. Mana compatibility didn't just mean your affinity to mana, but also your affinity to the world. Previously, he estimated that it would take a few years to reach Tier 4, but now he could reach it in 1 or 2 years. Satisfied, he came back to the cultivation manual and added life points. Plus 986, 667 life points. Gaia's Primal Genesis, Tier 0, Tier 6 droevig transcendent, max. A torrent of knowledge emerged, him studying day and night for 2,703 years through the cultivation manual. The reason it took such a long time is because life points can directly upgrade any skill/knowledge to transcendent mastery. Maximus breathed heavily. He nearly drowned himself from accepting the memories, as it was done in one go, not like going into a time chamber where you study by yourself. Let's take a break for a while, Maximus muttered. While digesting the memory, he figured he could read some stories to pass the time. Anyway, with his powerful consciousness, it wasn't a problem. Just as he got up to get a book, he noticed Max with a little girl whom he did not know. Furthermore, there was a beautiful miss with glasses talking to them. After watching the story with Ella, they became closer, and he came to know that she also had a monkey beast pet. Your monkey is weird, Max said as he looked at her pet with purple skin and glittering eyes like stars. No, it's beautiful, not weird, Ella said with a pout. You should be like my monkey, domineering, Max bragged, puffing up his chest. Domineeringly stupid, Ella rolled her eyes. Just as they were chattering while watching the story, a beautiful wenchen came to them. There you are, Ella. Chapter 102 Different Guilds. Here you are, Ella. Sister Auntie. Ella, who had been watching with Max, got up and greeted her. You brat, you're going everywhere, Denise said with a hint of scolding. You're busy, so I got bored, Ella said with a pout. Humph, there won't be a next time, Denise scolded. While they were talking, Maximus approached them and greeted, Hello, who are you? It's you, the newcomer. Denise said in surprise. What newcomer? By the way, I'm Maximus. Ah, Danisa, ella zauntia. I know you from the trial of newcomers this year. You became an official student in one go, awesome. Denise praised. After all, it's rare to have even one person reach official student status in one go every 10 years. Now, there are 4 of them this time, which is very rare in a millennium. Is that so? Maximus smiled politely. Dad. Max, who was engrossed in watching, finally noticed him. Maximus nodded. What? Seeing that Denise was still staring at him intently, he was puzzled. He had already looked at her panel, which, as expected of Origin Arcana Institute, the home of elites. Denise Celestine, 18,123 years old. Tier 6 Archmage. Talent, Rank 8 Supreme. Mana Amplitude, 10.2 million. Fit, 103. * 1 billion is the Tier 6 Mana Amplitude limit. That, I would like to invite you to the Lorekeeper Guild, Denise said eagerly. Lorekeeper Guild? The Lorekeeper Guild is in charge of the Arcana Library. A top-notch guild even compared to the rest. I think you'll like it here, Denise bragged shamelessly. In fact, their Lorekeeper Guild was almost at the bottom of the top guilds in the Origin Arcana Institute. If it were not for the Arcana Library, they wouldn't even be placed at the same level as those top-level guilds. Can you explain what a guild is? You can find what it is in the Institute forum. Basically, it's a faction created by students in the Institute to earn credits together, Denise explained briefly. Then can you tell me the benefits of joining your guild? Of course, first of all, you will be protected by the guild. Although killing is not allowed, there are still many ways to cheat you and bully you. Second, you'll have a massive discount through all the books here. I see that you only bought Tier 0, Tier 6 of the book, which is a pity. If you join us, the whole book would only cost 10% of the original, Denise said professionally. Is that all? What about duties? Maximus asked to confirm. You'll know that once you join our guild, Denise said, trying to fool him. Is that so? I'm still new here, so I would like to explore more and then consider joining a guild, Maximus said with a smile as if saying, you can't fool me. Oh, what a pity, Denise sighed. As expected, it's not easy to fool a newcomer who became an official student in one go. Normally, upon hearing that the Lorekeeper Guild manages the Arcana Library, one would be in a hurry to join. Unfortunately, this kid is a hard bone. Pity she almost got a promising lackey of her own. Ella, let's go, Denise said without any more thought. After all, in her 18,000 years of living, Denise had encountered all kinds of people. Maximus is not that rare. Bye Max, see you later, Ella waved to Max before following her sister auntie. See you later, Ella, Max nodded and continued with his book. As the two girls walked away, Maximus's mood to read stories plummeted as he became curious about the factions and guilds in the Origin Arcana Institute. He took out his token and accessed the Institute forum. Forum? Unbelievable revelation, meet the 4 mind-blowing prodigies. Breakthroughs in micromaterials leave machinist Legue speechless. Epic showdown of the century, Crimson Blade takes on Silver Wings in epic battle. There are all kinds of headlines in the forum that he didn't know where to look. Seeing the first title, he got curious and tapped on it. After reading for a bit, he got a cold sweat. These 4 prodigies are him, Lilith, Ragnar, and Silas. What's mind-blowing is that all of their information is there, perhaps they know more about him than himself. He even saw his family genealogy, which he didn't even know about. Fortunately, no information was on it that showed evidence of the system's existence. It should be the system's doing. Before he transmigrated into the original body, he only had trash talent, but here it's written that he was an outright genius from birth. All of the contradictory experiences since he transmigrated here are all normal when you look at it. All of this was found by divination, so it's no wonder the system can intervene. I think you should take a look at. If they personally investigated his origin, then something would probably happen. He should stay low-key for a while. After a few hundred years, all those who knew him before transmigration will probably die. As for his confidants, they have already signed a contract with him, so there is no problem. Having thought it through, he searched for information about different guilds. After searching, he came to know that a guild is just like clubs in his previous world, although they are more comprehensive and grand. Moreover, there is an uncountable number of guilds. There are hundreds of thousands of guilds alone that were established for the last thousands to millions of years that lasted until now. Lacking time, he turned his attention to the top 100 guilds. These top 100 guilds are either established from the beginning of the Institute's establishment or are rising stars from previous epochs. After reviewing all of the top 100 guilds, he just sighed. Joining them had too many constraints and duties. Even he, an elite this year, can only be a peripheral member if he joins. Furthermore, once you join them, you're basically branded by them all your life. For him who had a lot of secrets, this is dangerous. As for the Lorekeeper Guild that Denise mentioned, it's ranked 89th in the Institute. They were established in the beginning and created the now Arcana Library. As for the top 3 guilds, behold, they are the top 3 organizations that run the Arcane Continent: Ethereum Gold Chamber of Commerce, Order of the Arcane, and Knights of Order. This is how great the background of Origin Arcana Institute is. It's the gathering of those who control the world. This gave him the idea of creating a guild for himself. After all, with his system, sooner or later he will stand tall. Furthermore, having a faction is conducive to earning credit points. The easiest way to earn those points is by converting high-grade crystals for credit points. It's easy for him to earn vast amounts of magic crystals, but to do so without arousing suspicion, having a private guild is necessary. As for why the Arcane Continent, which boasts its almost unlimited mana, still needed this type of crystallized magic energy, it's because the Arcane Continent is incapable of producing magic crystals on its own. Maximus didn't know. After the whole Arcane Continent became an alchemy product, it stopped producing natural magic crystals. All the magic crystals present now are mined from under the seas or obtained through trade with other continents. But I still need some strength, Maximus thought. Setting up a guild requires at least tier 5 strength, so he is not eligible now. Sighing, he came back from digesting Gaia's primal genesis. 3 days later. It's time to leave, Maximus said, looking at his children still engrossed in their activities. But we want to stay here for a while, Max said. We'll come back later, Maximus replied, looking at them. They had been here for 3 days. The Arcana Library had enchantment that nourished them, allowing them to continue reading without eating or sleeping. Then come back later, they look at him pitifully. This library is truly a devil's nest of addiction. He reckoned that it's one of the reasons the Lorekeeper Guild has a low ranking. Let's go home. After they got home, they slept peacefully like never before. They had been away for 4 days without sleeping, so it's no wonder they sleep so soundly. The next day. Where are we going today? They asked excitedly. We're resting today, Maximus said with a yawn. They had been deviant lately. It's really time to settle the kids. What about attending a school? Maximus asked them. School? We thought that only adults go to school? Of course not, there's a school for kids here. He came to know that there's a guild especially taking care of the children of the students. Although the fee is expensive, they are professionals. They guarantee that children who study there can pass the Origin Arcana Institute trial when they grow up as long as they had enough talent. They are also famous for educating children starting from the mind and preventing the child from taking crooked paths. Oh, seeing that there were no real plans for going anywhere today, the kids sighed. However, when they saw their mothers dressing up as if going somewhere, they were puzzled. Where are you going? Lila asked, puzzled. We are going to the Celestial Ascent path to train, Erica said as she pinched her cheeks. Just obediently stay here with your dad and go to school, they laughed. They had already talked about this at night. They can't take care of their kids every day. Going to school is a great idea, and they can also make amazing friends. Fine, they said solemnly. Seeing them quibbling, Maximus smiled. However, his token vibrated, which got his attention. Doran, Your Majesty, do you have time? Chapter 103 Kingdom Development. In the hidden chamber of the castle, in Moonshadow City, located in the Moonlight Kingdom, a mechanical puppet slowly opened its eyes. It's really handy, Maximus murmured as he slowly moved its arm. After he received a call from one of his ministers, Doran, and having nothing else to do, he responded. Now, a part of his consciousness is in this mechanical puppet. By connecting through his personal token and the continental array in the Arcane Continent, a portion of his consciousness can control this puppet. Let's change first. The mechanical puppet began to squirm as it slowly changed to resemble his face. Getting up, he saw himself in the mirror. It indeed looks alike. Pity I can't use mana. As it's only a mechanical puppet, he can't use mana, which is a shame. Next time, I'll buy an alchemy puppet. Last time, he was short of money, so he could only afford one alchemy puppet, which is Edward, who manages the shop in Silver Leaf City. After a bit of inspection, he headed toward his throne chamber. "Your Majesty." The guards and maids were a little shocked to see him along the way. After all, it had been 4 months since he was away. A few minutes later, Maximus sat on his throne as his ministers slowly entered. Doran had already notified them that he was coming. Seeing that they were all seated, he started. "Let's begin with you, Landon. How is the people's migration here?" Landon nodded and stood up. "Your Majesty, the migration was completed a week ago. About 340.5 million people have successfully migrated to the Moonlight Kingdom. Thanks to the additional flying boats Your Majesty provided, the one-year migration was shortened to 3 months. How about their living environment? They have already settled in their new houses, thanks to Your Majesty's gracious spreading of mage and knight knowledge. All the people have become proficient in spells and are as strong as beasts. Building facilities in the kingdom were completed quickly." "That's good," Maximus praised. Seeing this, Landon sat back down proudly. Now that the people from Sunburnt Plateau are concentrated here, his kingdom can truly flourish. "What about you, Tristan? How is the financial report for these 3 months?" Maximus pointed at Tristan, the one in charge of the kingdom treasury. "Our main profit is from land rent. After more than 340 billion migrated here, the houses were rented for 3 billion gold a month. The spiritual land rent is 7 billion a month. As for the crops, it's 15 billion just in tax. For merchant tax, it's only about 1 billion. As for the expenditures, it's about 10 billion for monthly salaries to construct the kingdom's structure. There are currently more than 100 billion gold coins in circulation stored in Moonlight Bank," Tristan said. "Oh? How can there be so much?" Maximus asked, puzzled. He had only given 10 gold coins as a startup for each citizen. Even considering profits from the spiritual farm, there should only be 30 to 40 billion in the bank. He wondered how the additional 70 billion came about. "It's thanks to Minister Doran, Your Majesty," Tristan said, not daring to take credit. "Oh? Tell me, Doran." "Your Majesty, after you left, although the kingdom prospered, the circulation of resources in our kingdom led to too much waste. Without outside resources, sooner or later some problems would crop up, such as having too much money. Although many merchants popped up to circulate this money, there were no high-end resources for people to spend it on. The value of the currency will begin to decline, which will cause a bit of panic." "That's indeed a problem," Maximus nodded. Maximus had already thought of the solution to this, which is to release the training resources he bought from the Myriad World Mall. However, since he was busy with the trial, he forgot to implement it. "Go on," Maximus urged as he was curious about how Doran solved the problem. "I thought of importing resources from our kingdom and establishing a resource exchange through other islands in the Cursed Continent," Doran explained. "What resources did you exchange?" Maximus inquired. "It's the spirit plant, Your Majesty. It's popular among various territories," Doran said excitedly. "The Cursed Continent is barren and not suitable for large-scale planting due to the corrosive mana. I think you should take a look at other territories that have set up formation arrays like ours mainly plant high-tier spirit plants, targeting mages and knights. So, our spirit plant, which is cheap and easy to grow, became popular." "I see," Maximus nodded. He had sighed as he overlooked this aspect. He admitted that he didn't know much about the surrounding territories, especially the commercial ones, as he mainly focused on the power structure and dangers around his territories. Anyway, he is not so short of that bit of gold that he will waste time thinking about it. All of his attention is on training and his family. If it were not for his kingdom still useful for the future, he wouldn't even bother with it. "Currently, we are exchanging various resources in Birun City, resulting in at least 30 billion gold in pure profits every month," Doran reported. "That's good," Maximus smiled. He understood that these profits were only from spiritual plants, and once people started studying mechanics and alchemy, the profits would increase significantly. Now there is already 100 billion gold in virtual currency, which is 100 million magic crystals per month. Almost catching up with the income of the shop in the Arcane Continent. "By the way, what is the current situation with the Academy?" "Before he left, it was almost finished, but I don't know its current status. The Academy finished construction a month ago." Currently, we are conducting tests for people eligible to attend the Academy. According to Your Majesty, only people with at least rank 3 rare talent are eligible for the Academy. For others, we have already built training centers for them as per your instructions, Doran carefully explained. How many people have rank 3 talent? He indeed instructed to only accept at least rank 3 rare talent in the Academy. After all, with more than 350 million population, if he lowered the requirements, it would flood the Academy. The training center is for teaching basic knowledge and discovering talents for different professions. Especially, he noticed that something is weird in Sunburnt Plateau or even the whole cursed continent. His wives, who originally only had trash talent, mana compatibility, had rank 6 divine comprehension with other professions. He figured that this should have something to do with the corrosive mana which suppresses people's affinity to the world, thus lowering their talents when born. However, comprehension is different, as it's probabilistic. Talent can be nurtured as long as there is an abundance of mana. While comprehension is hard to change, even his cultivation manual, Divine Consciousness, have limits when it comes to improving comprehension. By now, we have checked half of the population and found about 1.5 million people who at least had a rare talent, Doran said. Maximus was a little shocked by the number. It seems that there are still many talented people in his kingdom. Should he increase his criteria? But thinking that even adults were tested, he knows that this proportion is even somewhat low. Meaning only about 0.88% have at least rare talent. In Arachne continent, he inferred that this percentage will shoot up to at least 10% of the population having a rare talent. After that, his ministers reported what happened in these 4 months. An hour later, he finally came to the final point. Which is why he specially came here. Now, with everyone present, I believe it's time to officially promote our kingdom to an empire, Maximus announced, observing their reactions. Of course, Your Majesty. I have been waiting for this. We're going to be an empire. They replied enthusiastically. After all, Maximus was already the ruler of the whole Sunburnt Plateau, so it was only natural for the kingdom to be promoted to an empire. Then begin to reach out to the Ethereum Embassy, Maximus instructed. The Ethereum Embassy was an organization similar to the Ethereum Gold Chamber of Commerce and others. While the EGCC mainly focused on business, the Ethereum Embassy managed safety and order area cities on the Arcane continent. For the Cursed continent, they oversaw the establishment of empires. After conquering a whole territory in the Cursed continent, the ruler needed to inform the Ethereum Embassy within 5 years. Otherwise, they might be regarded as invaders from another continent or even worse, as a cult. Officially registering with the Ethereum Embassy came with many benefits. Commercially, merchants from other places on the Cursed continent could formally stay and trade in their territory. This was unlike the current situation where they could only trade in Birun City, which had limitations. Furthermore, being registered with the Ethereum Embassy provided protection from other territories on the Cursed continent. Though Maximus wasn't worried about them, it could save him trouble in the long run. Of course, there were also taxes involved, but they were insignificant compared to the profits and the recognition of his territory. After all, in the future, his kingdom, or rather empire, would start accepting immigrants from other places. Being an empire recognized by Ethereum Embassy will make things easier. Chapter 104 Lumina Crysalis Guild. In the city of Arcana, in Maximus Manor. Maximus severed the spiritual connection with the mechanical puppet. Doran and the others would still need to report to the Ethereum Embassy before his kingdom could officially become an empire. Before that, he still needed to settle his children. Coming out, he saw his children already asleep. Let's do it tomorrow, he thought. The next day. Dad, where are mothers? Lily asked during breakfast. They are still training. Then when are they coming home? They will come home once a week. Oh. They sighed. Yesterday, they only played by themselves, and without their father and mothers, it was somewhat boring. Don't worry, I'll take you to school today, Maximus cheered them. This is also why he was in a hurry to settle them in school. Now he didn't need to attend a class, as although he was already an official student, he was only given its privileges in advance. He still hadn't passed or selected a course. As for his wives, they were also busy with training. Either in the Celestial Ascent Path or in Arcana Library. When the time comes, Maximus and his wives will not have time to take care of their children. They just nodded like a withered plant. They already missed their mothers, even if it was just one day. As for their father, he is often busy, so it's alright if they didn't see him for a week or two. Quickly eat your breakfast so as not to be late. Lumina Crysalis Guild Hall. In a large hall, a bunch of people with children come and go. Together with 11 of his children ranging from 7 years old to 5 months old, Maximus entered. "Look, so many," a man whispered to his wife. "Who is the mother of these kids so fierce?" The woman said with a hint of jealousy. "Mama, they're so fierce," the kid with them imitated. "Shoo, let's go register our kid," the husband said as he dragged them. They were seekers in the Origin Arcana Institute. They had been here for more than 1,000 years, yet they only had a child now. But looking at Maximus, who had an army of 11 children, they didn't know if they should be jealous or amazed. After all, the higher the strength, the harder it is to give birth. This is also the fault of the system. Maximus' seed is so fertile that it's easy to get pregnant. Maximus and his children became a dazzling spectacle as they walked toward the registers. "Dad, why do they look at us?" Max said while looking around. "Maybe it's because your brothers and sisters are handsome and cute," Maximus excused. He also didn't know what caused such a reaction. Is it rare to have 11 children in a row? Fortunately, there is no line, so he quickly came to register. "Hello, I would like to register my children in the guild." "All right, sir, please come with me." They were then led to a spacious private room. As they were seated, the steward addressed them with a smile. "Are you already familiar with Lumina Crysalis Guild, sir?" "No, can you tell me a bit about it?" "Of course, our guild was established hundreds of epochs ago. Currently, we are ranked 96 overall and rank No. 1 in our industry. The guild was established by Madame Aurelia, a Tier 9 Apex sovereign." Can you tell me the process of registering my children?" Maximus already knew that every top 100 guilds had at least 1 or 2 Tier 9 Apex sovereigns in their midst. Otherwise, they would not have survived until now. "The students are divided by grade and rank," the steward explained. "We have grades 1 to 9, ranging from a few months old to 100 years old. We teach children up to 100 years old until they pass the Origin Arcana Institute. For ages 3 and below, it's grade 1, grade 2 is for ages 4 to 10, the steward said as he looked at Maximus' children, who were mostly below 10 years old. What about ranks?" "I think you should take a look at. This is for you to consider, sir," the steward replied. "The rank determines the quality of education and resources that will be used to teach your children. We have 3 ranks, Nebula, Star, and Celestial class." After that, the steward explained each individual rank and its pros and cons. Usually, the Nebula class is where seekers' children stay, as it's more affordable, but the problem is that it's crowded. The Star class is for official students, which is a bit more expensive but offers more comprehensive courses and focus. Lastly, there's the Celestial class, a special class targeting big and wealthy families. It's a top-notch class with everything needed, and it's set to even surpass the official student education standards in the Origin Arcana Institute when it comes to children. Furthermore, there are a bunch of Tier 8 mentors teaching all the time, which is extraordinary. It's like having a bunch of Nobel Prize winners as full-time teachers. How much does the Celestial class cost? It's 30,000 credits for grade 1 and 100,000 credits for grade 2 each year, the steward said slowly. Well, although he was prepared for the expensive price, he was still somewhat shocked. There are 3 ways to get credit points. First is direct exchange of wealth, second is doing mission, and third is various rewards. Credit points are equivalent to high-grade magic stones, which are 10,000 times the value of low-grade magic stones. Currently, he has 5 children suitable for grade 1 and 6 children suitable for grade 2, which costs a total of 750,000 credits. Converted to low-grade magic crystal is 7.5 billion yearly. But thinking about the future of his children, he gritted his teeth and thought of a plan. Currently, he only has 477,838 credit points. He also had 2.8 billion low-grade magic crystals. 2.6 billion coming from the shop in Silver Leaf City during 3 months of trial. And 200 million from his previous money, along with the money he just converted into the system when he came back to his kingdom. Converted to credits, it's 280,000 in total, plus his remaining credits, which is barely enough for their tuition. "How is it, sir? Are they going to be enrolled in the Celestial class?" The steward smiled widely. It's rare to have such a big customer, who has 11 children and is still willing to enroll them in the Celestial class. "Let me convert some credits for a while," Maximus nodded. Then he manipulated his token to contact Edward and transfer money. After that, he went to the Institute exchange system and converted 2.8 billion low-grade magic crystals to credits. Plus 280,000 credits. Maximus Shadowcrest. Course, pending. Credits, 757,838. After that, he turned his attention back to the steward. Then I would like to enroll my children in the celestial class. Gladly. The steward said as he began to register his children. Can I get your tokens, little sir? Little miss? The steward said to his children, who had been sitting quietly until now. Here. Here is mine. They then handed their tokens one by one as the steward registered them, fearing that Maximus might change his mind. After all, this is a big commission for the steward, who is only a seeker at the institute barely getting by. As for worrying that Maximus couldn't pay? It's not a problem, as the steward knew that Maximus is an official student. Sooner or later, he can get enough money for the tuition fee. It's done, the steward said as he gave back their tokens. When will they start? Are they late for class? Maximus said as he manipulated his token to pay. -750,000 credits. Tomorrow, sir. Although the class already started 2 days ago, the mentors are good, so don't worry that they will not catch up, the steward said as he saw Maximus paid in full. By the way, there is a special vehicle that will take them to and from school and your house, so you don't need to worry about transportation and safety. There is also their itinerary code, so you can know what they're doing anytime, anywhere, the steward said as he gave Maximus a code that can access the activity of his children at school remotely. Seeing that the steward had nothing else to say, Maximus stood up. Let's go shopping and prepare for your school tomorrow, Maximus said as he looked at his children. Yay, shopping! The originally withered looks suddenly became lively. They knew what shopping is, but they hadn't experienced it. In the kingdom, all their needs were basically met. Furthermore, Max already supplied all their needs through the system, so they didn't need shopping. But this time, they will use it openly at school, so he can't just buy system products and be done with it. He will also take this time to look at what kind of products they sell here, compared to his system. After all, even though he already gone to shops like EGCC, he only buys and sells things directly without browsing. Let's go! Chapter 105 Shopping. In Lumina Crysalis Pavilion. Maximus and his children emerged from the guild hall after registering and headed to the shop beside it. Lumina Crysalis Pavilion is a specialty shop for children. Compared to EGCC, it's much more diverse and complete when it comes to children's items. Welcome, sir, the shopkeeper greeted. As they entered, a paradise-like place for children greeted them. While EGCC merely displayed its products for viewing, this shop resembled a mall with a wide array of attractions. Wow! Look there! Excitedly, his children pointed and exclaimed. They were thrilled to see all the children playing various games. How about we buy what you need first and then you can play? Maximus suggested. Yes, the children nodded eagerly, unable to tear their eyes away from the play area. Then let's get you proper main weapons, Maximus decided. Their current weapons were only training tools, not suitable for long-term use. In the weapons section, a variety of weapons and armor for kids were displayed. I'll wait for you here, choose what you like, Maximus said, noticing their enthusiasm in selecting their gear. He found a seat and patiently waited. Look, it's so cute! Lily felt the texture of a dress-like armor and exclaimed. It's so cute, Lydia nodded and murmured. It's too girly. What about this one? It looks more oppressive. Lila responded as she looked at an armor that is covered with a fiery design. Humph, it doesn't look that good. I prefer this dress, Lily said, taking it out of the rack. Then, I'll take this one. Lila didn't mind as she took one she wanted. I want this, Lydia murmured as she picked up an armor resembling a flowery dress. What about you, little sisters? Lily asked Serene and Syra. I want that white fluffy thing, Serene said cutely. Even though Serene can barely walk, she already has some knowledge about fashion at just 5 months old. I want the blue moon with blades, Syra said, not taking her eyes off that piece. From birth, Syra has had an affinity for the moon, and her mother mentioned that her name means moon. Seeing an armor resembling the moon made her stare at it. Thanks to their talents and an unlimited supply of resources, they can speak perfectly when they were 3 months old. Although they are still babies, they already have their own thought and knew what they wanted. All right, I'll get that for you too, Lily said, acting like a qualified older sister. Let's look at weapons next. Brother, it's so shiny and blinding. It's super cool, Max said as he saw golden armor that nearly blinded his eyes. Indeed, do you want it? Liam asked as his lips twitched seeing such a showy design. Yes, yes, Max replied without hesitation, picking it up. What about you, Nathan? Liam just sighed. I want this, Nathan said, picking out a dark armor that absorbed all the light like a black hole. Good, then I'll take this one, Liam said, selecting a white armor. Although it wasn't as shiny as Max's, it exuded a dominant and majestic spirit. By the way, where are Sam and Luke? Liam wondered as he looked around for the two. Sam and Luke, who were missing, were on the other side of the store. Look, brother, a robot armor. Sam exclaimed excitedly. In front of them was a fully fledged mechanical robot. I know, look, there is one with wings, Luke said as he came closer to admire it. Wow. I don't know what to choose, as Sam said, marveling at the variety of styles. Hee, what about we try them out? Luke suggested, checking to see if anyone was around. Not spotting anyone nearby, the two sneaked over and climbed into the cockpit. Sam and Luke especially loved robots and mechanical weapons ever since their father introduced them to these concepts. Unfortunately, due to their limited exposure, they only knew the basics of operating such devices. Inside the cockpit, they looked at the dense array of controllers. How do we start this? Sam asked, a bit dizzy. I don't know, Luke replied, equally at a loss. Little gentleman, you need a key to start the machine, a steward respectfully said. The steward had long noticed the two boys a while ago but didn't try to stop them. Seeing their curiosity, the steward didn't intervene. After all, their store catered to kids, and they understood how to handle such situations. Upon realizing they were caught, the two were briefly shocked. But upon processing the steward's words, they exchanged glances as if thinking of a plan. I think you should take a look at. Can you lend us the key? Luke said, using his cuteness to his advantage. Sure, little gentleman. Why don't I lead you to the testing room? The steward offered, glancing at Maximus. Maximus had also noticed what his playful children were up to, but he didn't stop them. Seeing the steward looking at him, he slightly nodded in approval. As Sam and Luke laughed as if their scheme had worked. In the testing room, the steward brought the robots that the two boys fancied. Let's see, he said to press here and here, Sam murmured as he tinkered with the suit. Luke also hopped into the flying robot he had admired. Following the instructions, both robots' eyes lit up. Let's try it out, Sam murmured as he tinkered with the controls. The burly robot started to walk, causing shockwaves with every step. Meanwhile, Luke began to fly crookedly, struggling to control the flying robot. It was their first time trying to handle such mechanical devices, so they did it somewhat awkwardly. However, thanks to the experience with mechanic devices that their father played from time to time, it was easy to get the hang of it. Brother, how about we have a little fight? Sam communicated through the speaker to talk to Luke. Sure. Luke replied with excitement. A screen inside the shop lit up, showing Sam and Luke fighting. In the beginning, they fought like kids, pushing each other. But as time went by, Luke began to use his robot's flying ability to kite Sam. Sam, on the other hand, was not to be defeated as he used his suit-robust body to exchange hits with Luke, disregarding defense. Look, it's a robot fight, Max said, pointing at the screen as he and his brother looked for weapons. The one with the wings should win, Liam remarked, acting like an expert. That's a weak-ass fly, I bet the bigger one would win, Max refuted. Nathan, on the other hand, remained silent while supporting Neo, who was 5 months old, to stand. Boring, Neo said, looking disinterested. Neo had been listless since birth, finding everything mundane. He was the type to lie down if given the chance and would never stand up. Fortunately, he was highly gifted and learned everything quickly, so Maximus didn't pay much attention to him, thinking that Neo would fix his attitude as he grew up. After all, Neo was still a baby, so it was normal. A few hours later. Is that all you want? Maximus asked, looking at the bunch of items on the floor. Yes, the majority of them said. Why yes, Max, on the other hand, was a little reluctant as he felt jealous seeing Sam and Luke getting robots. But when he looked at his dazzling armor, which eclipsed all of theirs, his mood improved a lot. How much for all of this? Maximus inquired, seeing that they were satisfied with their choices. It's 6,215 credits, the steward replied after calculating. Here, Maximus nodded and paid. Although it was a bit expensive, he understood the reason for the price. These items, except for the 2 robots, were growth-type equipment, making them costly, equivalent to 62 million low-grade crystals. However, even though they were growth-type equipment, it didn't mean that they automatically grow. They required unique materials for growth, otherwise, they wouldn't be so cheap. Take it to your storage ring, Maximus instructed his children. They hadn't taken the items earlier because of a brand that prevented them from being stored in the storage ring. Now that he had paid, the brand disappeared. Where to go next? How about we buy food for your pets? Maximus suggested after some thought. All right. In the beast pet section, a variety of items for pets were displayed. I'll wait for you here while you choose beast pet food, Maximus said. Come out, monkey, choose your food, Max said, tapping his beast pet ring. The others also took out their pets one by one, drawing attention from others. Their pets looked ferocious and lively, possessing Tier 7 Transcendent Beast Pet bloodlines, nearly reaching Tier 8 Supreme Bloodline purity. Smell good. Their beast pet all thought. While his children were busy choosing beast pet food, Maximus found a seat. However, just as he sat down, a voice came from behind. It's you, the newcomer, Maximus. Denise?